What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Tyler. Behind me we have the Sandstorm, and if you watched my previous video, we did the front bumper install. This is going to be part 2 of that. We are going to be installing the hidden winch underneath the bumper. It comes with a whole new skid plate, and the winch sits inside above that skid plate down below the bumper. I didn't want it on top of the bumper because I would rather put some lights up there instead. So that's what we're gonna do. We also did do a little install of some molly panels that I did not show. All this stuff is from Rough Country. So after we get this winch installed, we will have a part 3, and that's going to be installing this rear Rough Country bumper that I have in this box. But this is part 2 of the series, Rough Country series, I guess, if you will. But let me go ahead and show you the molly panels I installed from Rough Country before we get started. And as I'm doing that, make sure you like and subscribe, and let's roll the intro. Okay, so the first one I installed, don't mind the mess, it's a little messy in here. I need to get some worm spit. But we got this molly panel on this side installed. If you put a passenger one, you can actually use the grab handle bolts, and there's a hidden bolt behind this little pocket right here that you can utilize to put the passenger side. When you do the driver side, you're gonna have to drill into your console. This Bronco build, I wanted to do it a little bit more extreme than the Canyon build, so I didn't mind drilling into it. But anyways, we've got this in, it's solid. And then I have my holster mount right here for self-defense. So my holster snaps right into place, and pretty much it's right there where I can just grab it and pull it out if needed. And then did an earlier video of that stuff. Come around to the tailgate here. We've got these side molly panels installed. These are super solid. These are not going anywhere. These are bolted into the roll bar and into the metal underneath this plastic. So you'll have to pull these plastic pieces out to get to those, and then bolt it up there to the seat belt. I will do a little video talking about all the interior mods on the Bronco and do some more explaining on this. Super simple to install. It was just time consuming, but we've got the hatchet here, we've got some bear spray, shovel, and then a little chainsaw, and then of course this one already installed. So I plan to put a fire extinguisher in here and whatever odds and ends that I will need in the future. But let's go ahead and move around to the front, and let's start unboxing the winch and the new skid plate. So what's going to happen is when I install this bumper, this front bumper, if you don't want a winch, this front bumper does come with everything you need for the sensors, the adaptive cruise control, and if you don't have those, it comes with plugs and covers to cover up the holes and everything. So this bumper is good for any of the models. It comes with this skid plate, the bumper does, so we're actually going to remove this skid plate, and the winch setup, the hidden winch setup, comes with a new skid plate because obviously it has to have a cutout for the winch to come out. Another thing that comes with this winch and doing the hidden mount is your intercooler is going to have to move up. The good thing about my Bronco is it has the smaller engine, so if you have the 2.3 liter, you're just gonna pretty much add a spacer, and that spacer is going to push the intercooler up when you screw in or bolt down the winch. If you have the bigger V6 engine, there's a little bit more work you have to do to move the intercooler up, because I guess it's a bigger intercooler, a little more piping that you need to move and reroute. But luckily with the smaller engines, it's as simple as adding a spacer, and that spacer kind of pushes the intercooler up a little bit. So we're going to get everything unboxed, and then we will start doing this. We're going to unbox the skid plate first, see, because obviously I think the plates and everything, the brackets to mount the winch is in there. So I do have the 12,000 pound winch is what I got. It's got a 6 horsepower motor, 265 to 1 gear reduction ratio. I did get the synthetic rope. I got the synthetic rope because with adding these steel bumpers on the front and rear, you're already adding weight. Adding a winch, you're adding weight. So to save some weight, I opted in for the synthetic rope. It's gonna weigh a little bit wet. It's going to weigh a little bit less than the steel rope. So that's what I went with. And yeah, let's go ahead and start unboxing everything. All right, guys, so we've got the hardware. It's going to be these. You're gonna have 12 of these bolts, 12 of the washers, and 12 of the nuts. And that's going to bolt the brackets onto the winch tray. So the winch is gonna sit on that. These brackets are what's gonna hold it up underneath your Bronco. And so we're gonna bolt those down real quick. All right, guys, we've got the tray and the brackets for the winch tray all bolted up. Now the next step is to actually bolt the winch onto this, and then once we have this mounted on, once we have the winch mounted onto this, we're gonna remove the rough country skid plate that I already have installed that came with this bumper. We're gonna get this installed with the spacers for the intercooler. Like I said earlier, I have the 2.3, so the spacers will work for me. If you have the 2.7, I believe, it's gonna take a little bit more work to move the intercooler up. But we'll get this installed, and then we have the front portion of this this is technically a skid plate. We'll have the front portion of this ready to install, which has the hole in the front of it for the winch to actually come out of. So super easy install so far. I say so far because if you guys have seen my video, any of my videos, you know that an hour project might take me 8 hours, depending on what it is. So, and also, can you guys just admire how cool the Bronco looks from this angle, especially with this new rough country bumper? I'll also link that video down below if you want to see the install of the bumper. But anyways, let's go ahead and get the winch out, see what we need to get that mounted onto this tray, and we should be good to go. And I also want to know all of this is steel, so it is going to be a little bit heavier. I would recommend, if you want a lighter option, I would recommend mounting the winch to the bumper and then getting some aluminum skid plates just to save some weight. Me personally, I wanted to hit the winch hidden, so that's why I'm doing it this way. And the con to that is I have a bunch of steel plates underneath the Bronco adding weight. But so far I'm still getting, as of today, 15 miles per gallon, so not too crazy bad. Better than the Canyon. Actually, the Canyon I get a solid 13.5, and all I have on it is 34-inch tires and a roof rack. So all the stuff that this Bronco has with the 37s, the 3-inch lift, and the metal bumper, I would say 15 miles per gallon is not bad. So anyways, let's move on to installing the winch. All right, let's get this winch out of the box. Oh, son of a bitch. Okay, winch is pretty heavy. I've never had a winch before, so I really didn't know how heavy it was gonna be. Anyways, the instructions say it's easier if you put the winch upside down and then put the tray on top and do it that way. So that's what we're gonna do. Just let me figure out which way it needs to go. The front of this tray is going to be the portion where the brackets go forward like this. So this will be the front. So we're gonna flip that and make sure it's pointing towards the front of the winch. And then we're gonna set this on top of the winch, like so. Make sure we get these centered up. We'll fix that as we tighten the bolts down. Okay, so we've got the winch mounted to the tray. Now I need to take the skid plate off. There's only 4 15mm bolts that you have to remove to get that front skid plate off. And then there are 2 15mm bolts on each of the factory tow hooks, which are behind the bumper currently. So you have to pull those off in order to put the spacer on for the intercooler. So I'm gonna pull all that off real quick, and then we will move on to the next step of getting this mounted. I'm actually probably gonna have to borrow a jack from my neighbor so we can lift this up there and me not have to struggle to lift it because it's pretty heavy. Okay, so these are the intercooler spacers. you're gonna pull off this rubber piece, hopefully. Maybe. It's coming, it's coming. Okay, there we go, got it. So you're gonna pull off the rubber piece and you're gonna put your spacer on that, and then you're gonna pretty much just put that back on. And so that's all you need to do for the intercooler on the 2.3s as far as I know so far. We'll see obviously how that goes, but you just push that back on there, and then when you mount everything back, it's gonna give you a little bit more space between your winch and the intercooler. So I'm gonna do the other side real quick, and then I'll check back in on the next step. So I thought I had the frame extensions cut, I guess not. So I'm gonna go to Lowe's, get some blades for the grinder my neighbor let me borrow, and we're gonna get these cut off. And then we can install the winch. I'm gonna be honest, guys. I typically don't do this type of stuff on the cars, and this is honestly the first time I'm gonna be cutting metal. So I got a face shield. I've got FR clothing on just so I don't burn my arms, and this is pretty thick, so I don't have to worry about if this breaks, metal going into me. And then I got a face shield, so keeping it safe. Let's see how this goes. We'll record the cutting of the frame, see how easy it goes, and hopefully it's all good. And I had some tips not to put too much pressure on the grinder so I don't risk the blade breaking. I definitely don't want that to happen, but I'm taking precautions in case it does. And then I have extra blades as well, so let's see how this goes. All right, guys, so I ran out of daylight yesterday, so I had the winch all bolted up and skid plate and everything installed so I could drive it to work today. I realized in doing that, because I did that in hopes that when I got home today, all I would have to do is wire it up to the battery. And then I realized because I cut the frame, I forgot to paint it to prevent it from rusting. So I actually had to take everything back out, which is a benefit for you guys, because now I can record reinstalling it, because I forgot to last night because my phone died and I was in a rush. So now I'll get to show you how to actually bolt it down and where to bolt it down. But yeah, don't forget to paint when you cut your frame down there. Don't forget to prime, sand, prime, and paint it to prevent it from rusting, because once you do cut that frame, you're exposing that steel. So make sure you do it the correct way. I just painted it, so we're waiting on it to dry, and then we're going to put everything back together. All right, guys, so we've got the frame painted where I cut it right there, and on the driver's side. The driver's side I didn't cut as well, but it's enough to clear the winch up there. So before we get started, the hardest part that I found about this install is these things. You have to stick these into the frame and use this little tail to kind of line it up. So this goes inside the frame, and then you have to line up the winch and the bolt to this. So you're like trying to maneuver the winch around. I mean, yes, it's on a jack stand, but you still have to, you know, maneuver it a little bit. But yeah, this was awkward to do. It sucks I have to do it again since I forgot to paint the frame, but here we are. Now we gotta do these things first. I don't know, can you see? Yeah, okay. So those go into that frame right there. And then you pretty much just have to work to line it up. That went in way easier that time around. I'm gonna flip the camera in to show you exactly where this goes. Okay, so this is the tail, and then you stick that in there, and there's a round hole. You gotta line it up with this and your winch, and do the same thing to the passenger side. So I'm gonna get the passenger side done. You do not wanna tighten anything yet, because you wanna make sure these holes are gonna line up so that when you put your tow hooks back on, all of this lines up. And then the way I did it is I actually tightened the back ones first. So if you tighten these ones first, you're gonna limit the winch from being able to move back. If you tighten these ones first, this will align the winch backwards all the way against the frame, and then you can do the bolts to line it all the way up to the frame. So I recommend doing it that way. But anyways, I'm gonna knock out the passenger side real quick, and then we'll get these ones bolted down. These are actually your factory holes where your tow hooks go. So these aren't hard to find, and you'll use the factory hardware as well. All right, so we've got the driver's side in, we've got the tow hooks back on, so these are still loose. So I'm gonna tighten these first. The unfortunate thing about these is you have to use a wrench. You can't fit a socket in there. Unless you guys are able to, good for you. I can't, and this is the wrong wrench anyways. But anyways, I'm gonna tighten these up and then tighten the tow hooks up, and we will move on to running the wires up into the engine bay, and we'll put the skid plate on, wire it up, and test it out. So make sure you read the actual instructions before you move on to the hidden skid plate instructions. So read over the winch instructions, make sure everything's good to go, and then do the skid plate. Don't make the same mistake I did, because I started with the skid plate instructions, got everything installed, realized there was some stuff I needed to do to the winch before it was ready to go and be installed. Anyways, we're good to go. We've got it hooked up. All I need to do now is zip tie the wires. They give you some self-tapping screws for this. This is the remote extension to the winch. So they say to cut out a notch right here and drill it in. I'm not doing that yet. I'm gonna zip tie it because I think I'm gonna come up to a solution to where I can mount something in the cab, maybe a button, and then maybe somehow split it up to where if I need to be outside, I can still plug the remote in up here. I don't know yet. We're gonna figure that out. But anyways, I'll show you guys that it works, and then I'm gonna zip tie stuff, and then that's pretty much about it. I'll do a review of all this stuff later, my thoughts on all the rough country gear and everything. But yeah, let me just go ahead and show you that it works, and then I'll let you guys go. Make sure you like and subscribe, and let's check the winch out. Let's grab the remote, and then I'm pulling this with my pinky, but we're gonna go out, and then we're gonna go back in. So all I need to do is put the hook on there, and then it's all good to go. As I said before, zip tie the wires up, make sure they're nice and neat and they're not gonna hit anything that's moving in the engine bay. And then yeah, that's it for this video. Make sure you like and subscribe, and I will see you guys in the bumper install video.